Hey guys, tonight we're diving into something that will hit close to home for every single one of us. The quiet moments when you realize you've been tolerating something you never should have. Picture this: you're sitting across from a friend at a dinner table, and they make a joke at your expense. Everyone laughs, you force a smile, but deep inside, something twists. You walk away wondering, why did I let that slide? That's the first hook, because the truth is, the respect you accept is the respect you teach others to give. Now imagine a different scene. You're at work, pouring yourself into a project, only to watch a colleague take credit while you sit there, stunned into silence. You tell yourself it's not worth the confrontation, but later that night, lying awake, you feel the weight of betrayal pressing on your chest. That's the second hook, because silence in the face of dishonesty doesn't protect your peace. It destroys it. And then there's the most dangerous one of all: the loved one who manipulates you, who twists words, who uses guilt like a chain. They never raise their voice, never slam the door, but slowly, quietly, they drain the strength right out of you until you barely recognize yourself. Because what you allow, you eventually become. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Tonight, we're going to explore the 8 unacceptable behaviors and unforgivable actions that must never find a place in your life, and how mastering the art of self-respect is not arrogance, but the very foundation of peace. Now, dim the lights and let's ease into tonight's journey together. The moment you decide who you are, there comes a point in every life where the question becomes unavoidable. What will I allow in my presence, and what will I reject? No matter the cost. Not because you want to be unkind, not because you seek conflict, but because you understand something the weak often miss: every allowance, every overlooked trespass teaches the world how to treat you. We rationalize. We make excuses for the people we love. That's just how he is. She's always been like that. And yet, deep down, a part of you knows if you keep tolerating what corrodes you, you'll lose something far greater than the relationship. You'll lose yourself. The Stoic's wisdom is brutally clear. Strength is not the ability to absorb endless mistreatment. Strength is the courage to say, no, this does not belong in my life. 1. Disrespect. The first crack in self-worth. Disrespect is rarely a grand explosion. It's not someone screaming in your face. More often, it slips in like a whisper. It's the friend who cuts you off mid-sentence as if your words don't matter. It's the coworker who rolls their eyes when you share your ideas. It's the joke made at your expense, the one you're expected to laugh at so everyone else can stay comfortable. On the surface, these are tiny moments, harmless, even. But here's the truth: they are micro-fractures in the foundation of your self-worth. And if you ignore them, those cracks spread. A Stoic does not respond with rage. There is no wisdom in mirroring disrespect with more disrespect. But neither does a Stoic endure in silence. The philosophy calls for a different path, a principled, calm, unshakable defense of your boundaries. When someone disrespects you, it's not just an external problem. It's an internal alarm. Your standards have been challenged. Your dignity has been tested. Brushing it off with, Its nothing teaches the wrong lesson to them and to yourself. Soon, you're shrinking in conversations, muting your own thoughts, convincing yourself that it's noble to remain unaffected. But Marcus Aurelius warned us you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. That strength lies in making it impossible for disrespect to survive in your presence. Sometimes that means a measured conversation. Sometimes it's a refusal to engage. And sometimes it's walking away entirely. Not in bitterness, but in the quiet conviction that your peace is worth more than someone else's comfort. 2. Manipulation, the silent assassin of peace. Manipulation is not loud. It doesn't storm into the room. It slips in wearing a smile. It's the friend, partner, or family member who twists conversations, who makes you feel guilty for setting boundaries, who sows just enough doubt that you question your own memory. One moment they shower you with warmth and praise, making you feel indispensable. The next, they withhold affection the moment you assert yourself, leaving you confused, wondering what you did wrong. For the Stoic, this is more than unpleasant. It's an attack on the very foundation of inner clarity. Without clarity, there is no peace, and manipulation is clarity's greatest enemy. A manipulator's tools are subtle guilt, confusion, selective kindness. They appear as concern. They hide behind "I'm just trying to help" or "I only want what's best for you." But in truth, they are rearranging the furniture of your mind slowly, quietly, until you no longer recognize the room you live in. The Stoic response is not to fight chaos with more chaos. There is no shouting match, no spectacle. There is calm, deliberate recognition. I see this for what it is, and I will not be moved. Seneca advised associate with those who will make a better man of you. A manipulator does the opposite. They diminish you until you can no longer see your own worth. The solution is not debate. It's not proof. It's exit. And when you walk away, you send a message. My mind is not a playground. My peace is not negotiable. 3. Chronic complaining, the emotional black hole. Not all toxins scream, some sigh. Chronic complaining doesn't threaten you directly, it drains you quietly. The chronic complainer doesn't seek solutions, they seek an audience. Their wounds, real or exaggerated, become the centerpiece of every interaction. Every suggestion is dismissed. Every positive perspective is met with resistance. They aren't looking to move forward, they are committed to staying exactly where they are. And if you aren't careful, they'll keep you there with them. This is dangerous for anyone pursuing the Stoic path, because it erodes one of your most precious resources, your energy. Epictetus warned, "It is impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows." The chronic complainer lives in that blindness. When you allow yourself to be their emotional caretaker, you pay for it with your optimism, your drive, your perspective. Soon, you might find yourself echoing their bitterness, doubting the value of hope, believing that optimism is naive. A Stoic understands this is not compassion, it's sabotage. True compassion respects another person's right to their struggle, while also respecting your own right to grow. Sometimes the most loving act is to stop feeding someone's addiction to misery. You choose your company. You choose your atmosphere. And you have the right to choose people who make you better, not bitter. 4. Dishonesty. The death of inner trust. Lies don't just destroy trust between people, they destroy trust within a person. When you excuse dishonesty, whether it comes from others or from yourself, you teach your own mind not to believe what it sees, not to trust what it knows. The Stoics revered truth as the anchor of a strong life. Marcus Aurelius said, "If someone can prove me wrong and show me my mistake, I will gladly change. It is the truth I seek." But dishonesty corrodes that anchor. It starts small, a shifting story, a small contradiction, a gut feeling you dismiss because you don't want to seem suspicious. Over time, you dull your own instincts until you no longer trust yourself. This is the quiet tragedy of tolerating lies. You lose your clearest guide, your own reason. Living with integrity means you confront falsehoods, even when it's uncomfortable. You choose truth over temporary harmony, clarity over illusion. And when someone refuses to live truthfully, no matter how close they are to you, you accept that they have stepped outside the circle of trust. To keep your self-respect intact, you cannot let dishonesty find a home in your life. Truth is the soil in which dignity grows. Without it, everything withers. If you want, I can continue with part 2, which will cover entitlement, disloyalty, laziness, and jealousy in the same style, expanding them with vivid, motivational language while keeping the Stoic tone. 5. Entitlement. The unseen burden that steals your energy. Entitlement is one of the most subtle poisons in human relationships. It rarely starts with an outrageous demand. Instead, it seeps into your life quietly, disguised as normal interaction until you realize that what you give is no longer seen as a gift, but as an obligation. At its core, entitlement is not simply a desire for something, it is the belief that one deserves it without merit, gratitude, or reciprocity. The entitled person sees your help as their right, your time as their possession, your forgiveness as a given. They don't appreciate what you offer, they expect it. What makes this so insidious is that it preys on the good-hearted. Empathetic, compassionate people are often the easiest targets because they want to be kind, to be generous, to help. But to the entitled, kindness is not a virtue, it's currency, and they will spend it recklessly. You've heard their lines, "After everything I've done for you," or "I thought you were different." Their gratitude, when it appears at all, is thin and fleeting. Over time, this unspoken transaction chips away at your peace, your energy, and your sense of fairness. The Stoic response is clear: give, but never from fear, manipulation, or obligation. Seneca's wisdom. He who gives quickly gives twice is not about speed, but sincerity. True generosity is given freely, not extracted under pressure. When you give because you fear losing approval, you plant resentment inside yourself. That resentment grows quietly until kindness becomes bitterness and willingness turns to exhaustion. The line must be drawn. You are under no moral obligation to give endlessly to someone who only takes. Your time, energy, and attention are finite and precious. Protect them. When entitlement crosses your boundaries, you don't need to argue, justify, or explain. You simply stop feeding the expectation. A Stoic's generosity is a choice, not a debt. And the moment someone treats it otherwise, Your duty is not to them, it's to yourself. 6. Disloyalty, the deepest wound to integrity. Ask yourself, if I lost everything tomorrow, who would still stand beside me? That question strips away illusions, because loyalty is not measured by the smiles and support you receive when life is good. It is revealed in the shadows, when the storms come. Disloyalty isn't always a grand act of betrayal. It's often smaller, quieter. The friend who disappears when you need them most. The colleague who withholds praise when it could benefit you. The partner who is supportive in private, but silent when you are attacked in public. For the Stoic, loyalty is not a favor. It's a fundamental measure of character. Disloyalty is a violation of integrity, because it reveals that someone's commitment to you was never about who you are, but what you provided: validation, support, advantage. And when those benefits fade or your success threatens them, their allegiance fades too. The disloyal person is a chameleon. In times of ease, they blend in as a friend. In times of challenge, they vanish or worse, quietly hope for your fall. This duality corrodes trust, not just in them, but in your own judgment. The Stoic does not respond with rage or revenge. The answer is distance. Quietly, firmly, you withdraw your presence from the relationship. No spectacle, no speeches. Simply the removal of your energy from a space that has proven unworthy of it. This act is not punishment, it's preservation. Your loyalty, once broken, cannot be restored to its original form. And by refusing to tolerate disloyalty, you send a silent but powerful message. My integrity is not for sale. My trust is not a loan to be misused. In the end, disloyalty teaches you something invaluable: that loyalty, once recognized, should be cherished, and that those who abandon it have no place in the circle you guard so fiercely. 7. Laziness and shirking responsibility. The thief of potential laziness is more than just inaction. It's the slow death of potential. It doesn't always appear as someone lying on a couch all day. Sometimes it looks like endless procrastination, half-finished work, or excuses dressed up as reasons. When people consistently refuse to carry their share of responsibility, whether in a relationship, a friendship, a workplace, or a community, they're not just slowing progress. They're silently shifting their burden onto others. The Stoics valued effort not because it wins applause, but because it honors life itself. Epictetus taught that we are here to act with purpose, to fulfill our role to the best of our ability. Laziness is a rejection of that duty. If you continually allow someone to dodge responsibility, you send a signal that you will pick up the slack, and soon, your energy will be spent living someone else's life instead of your own. This tolerance is dangerous. It breeds resentment in you, dependency in them, and mediocrity for both. The Stoic path is not about carrying the unwilling, it's about walking alongside those who walk with you. Surround yourself with people who meet you at the line of effort, who share the weight without being asked, who take pride in doing their part. When laziness becomes a pattern, you must decide, will you carry it for them, or will you let them face the truth that the path forward is theirs to walk? 8. Jealousy and envy, twin poisons that rot the soul. Jealousy and envy are thieves that don't just steal joy, they poison the soil where trust and connection grow. They often begin as a quiet comparison, Why them and not me? But over time, this mindset warps into something corrosive. The jealous person cannot celebrate others' victories. Every success they witness feels like a subtraction from their own worth. This is a scarcity mindset, a belief that life is a limited pie, and if someone else gets a slice, there's less for you. But life doesn't work that way. Someone else's win does not diminish your potential. In fact, if approached with the right spirit, their success can expand your vision of what's possible. The danger of tolerating jealousy, either in yourself or in those close to you, is that it breeds distrust, competition where there should be collaboration, and bitterness where there could be joy. In teams, jealousy stifles creativity. In friendships, it sours intimacy. In families, it divides blood. The envious person may mask it with politeness, but it leaks through in backhanded compliments, subtle undermining, or quiet withdrawal from others' happiness. The Stoic answer is gratitude and self-mastery. You measure yourself not against others, but against your own potential. You surround yourself with people who see your success as a shared celebration, not a threat. And you refuse to remain in environments where envy is the currency of connection. Refusing to tolerate jealousy is not arrogance, it's clarity. It's building a life where trust can breathe, where relationships are rooted in mutual respect, and where joy is shared freely without suspicion. Now you know the 8 behaviors: disrespect, manipulation, chronic complaining, dishonesty, entitlement, disloyalty, laziness, and jealousy that should never be allowed to take root in your life. But recognizing them is only the first step. Next, we'll go deeper into the practical, Stoic-inspired strategies you can use to identify these behaviors early. Guard your boundaries and live in a way that commands respect without ever having to demand it. We will start building those real-world Stoic strategies with emotional and motivational depth. The Stoic's Shield. How to spot the threats early. You now know the 8 behaviors that no person of self-respect should tolerate. But wisdom is not just knowing what to avoid. It's developing the sight to detect them early, before they sink roots into your life. A Stoic does not wait for the storm to tear the roof away before reinforcing the house. He looks at the clouds, feels the shift in the wind, and acts before the damage comes. So how do you recognize these behaviors before they become full-blown patterns? The Stoics left us more than philosophy. They left us tools, timeless disciplines of awareness and reflection that can keep your boundaries intact without turning your heart to stone. Let's explore these tools not as abstract theories, but as living habits you can apply today. 1. Practice daily. Self-audit. Marcus Aurelius ended many days by reviewing his own actions, not to judge himself harshly, but to see where he could stand firmer tomorrow. You can do the same. Each night, ask yourself, where today did I let something pass that didn't align with my values? Did I excuse behavior I would advise a friend to reject? Was I clear about my boundaries, or did I shrink to keep the peace? The power of this is not in catching others, it's in catching yourself before patterns form. Awareness is the first layer of armor. 2. Recognize the emotional signal. Before your mind even labels a situation as wrong, your body knows. You feel it: tightness in your chest, a drop in your stomach, a slight tension in your jaw. These sensations are not weakness, They are early warning systems. A Stoic learns to pause and examine them. Ask, why did that comment sting? Why do I feel uneasy around this person? Ignoring these signals is like ignoring a leak in the hull of a ship you might still sail for a while, but the water is already coming in. 3. Separate the person from the behavior. One of the most powerful Stoic tools is the ability to see clearly without letting emotion distort the picture. Someone can be kind in many ways yet still show patterns of disrespect, dishonesty, or manipulation. Instead of labeling them good or bad, focus on the specific action and how it affects your well-being. The moment you excuse a harmful behavior because you like the person, you've already started negotiating your self-respect. 4. Name it immediately, at least to yourself. Not every moment requires an outward confrontation, but it always requires an inward acknowledgement. If a friend interrupts you, note to yourself, that was disrespect. If a partner twists your words, recognize that was manipulation. If a colleague avoids their share of the work, say internally, that was shirking responsibility. Naming it keeps you in reality. And in Stoic philosophy, reality, not wishful thinking, is the ground from which strength grows. The 3-tier Stoic boundary system. Once you recognize a behavior, what's next? The Stoics weren't interested in living in constant conflict. Their boundaries were strategic, calm, and intentional. Think of your boundaries as having 3 tiers. Tier 1, gentle clarification used when the behavior may be unintentional or it's the first occurrence. Approach. Address the moment calmly and directly. Example: when you interrupt me, I feel like my thoughts don't matter. Can we make space for both of us to finish speaking? Purpose. You offer the other person the chance to correct course without hostility. Tier 2, firm declaration used when the behavior repeats, or your earlier clarification is ignored. Approach. Be explicit and concise. No long explanations. Example: I'm not comfortable with that comment. Please don't repeat it. Purpose. You make it clear the boundary is non-negotiable. You're not asking for approval. You're stating your standard. Tier 3, strategic withdrawal used when the behavior persists despite clarity, or it violates a core value. Approach. Quietly reduce or remove your presence from the situation. Purpose: to protect your energy and integrity without feeding drama. The Stoic understands walking away is not weakness. It's choosing not to stand in the path of a storm. You cannot stop. Why this matters beyond you. Some believe boundaries are selfish. The Stoics knew the opposite is true. By refusing to tolerate disrespect, manipulation, or dishonesty, you don't just protect yourself. You set a visible standard that others can see and emulate. When you show that your self-worth is non-negotiable, you give silent permission for others to demand the same for themselves. Your firmness becomes a ripple in the world, raising the level of respect in every space you enter. The balance between firmness and compassion. Setting boundaries does not require hardening your heart. The Stoic ideal is not coldness, it's discernment. You can reject a behavior while still wishing the person well. You can walk away without carrying bitterness. Seneca wrote, "It is the power of the mind to be unconquerable. That unconquerable spirit is not born from constant battles. It comes from knowing when to engage and when to step aside." The purpose of rejecting these 8 behaviors is not to create distance from everyone, it's to create space for the right people to come closer. We've learned to identify harmful patterns early. You've seen how to create boundaries with clarity and calm. But Stoicism is not only about defense, it's about building a life so rich in virtue, meaning, and purpose that these toxic patterns have no space to exist. In part next, we'll go beyond avoiding harm and explore how to cultivate relationships, environments, and habits that naturally attract respect, loyalty, and integrity. So you're not just guarding your peace, you're multiplying it. Now, we will focus on building a Stoic life that draws respect naturally, without ever having to chase it. Building a life that commands respect, without asking for it. A Stoic does not walk through the world demanding respect. He lives in such a way that respect becomes the natural byproduct of his actions, his standards, and his presence. The aim is not to force the world to treat you well. It's to create a life so anchored in virtue that anything less than respect cannot survive in it. This is not about image, it's about substance. The Stoics knew that respect earned through fear or manipulation is hollow. True respect, lasting, unshakable respect, comes from alignment when your actions match your values, your words match your behavior, and your life reflects your principles. 1. Know your core values and live them relentlessly. You cannot defend boundaries if you don't know what they are protecting. Before you can build a life of respect, you must define the non-negotiables. Ask yourself, what virtues matter to me more than comfort? What behaviors, no matter who they come from, I will not accept? What do I want people to feel when they interact with me? For Marcus Aurelius, these were justice, wisdom, courage, and moderation. For you, they may include honesty, loyalty, or discipline. The list is less important than your commitment to live it every day. When your values are clear, your choices become easier. The fog of uncertainty lifts, and others, consciously or not, begin to treat you according to the standard you've set for yourself. 2. Master the discipline of self-respect. Self-respect is not pride. It's not arrogance. It's the quiet, steady knowledge that your time, energy, and presence have worth. And here's the truth: people take their cues from you. If you treat your own time as disposable, others will too. If you speak about yourself with self-deprecation, others will learn to mirror it. If you keep promises to others, but not to yourself, you teach the world that your own needs are optional. The Stoic masters self-respect by keeping personal commitments with the same seriousness as commitments to others, speaking truth without apology, not to offend, but to clarify, refusing to participate in self-betrayal just to keep the peace. When you respect yourself consistently, you won't need to announce it. It will be in the way you walk into a room, the way you hold your word, and the way you refuse to stay where your values are not honored. 3. Choose your company as you would choose your teachers. Seneca advised, associate with those who will make a better man of you. Who you surround yourself with will either sharpen your character or dull it. Every relationship sends you in one of 2 directions, toward growth or toward erosion. The people in your inner circle should challenge you without diminishing you, support you without controlling you, and inspire you without making you feel less. Here's a simple Stoic filter. Do they celebrate my wins without resentment? Do they tell me the truth even when it's uncomfortable? Do I feel lighter, clearer, and more capable after spending time with them? If the answer is no more often than yes, the Stoic answer is distance, not out of bitterness, but because your life is too valuable to be shaped by the wrong hands. 4. Build habits that reflect your standards. Your habits are silent signals to the world about who you are and what you will tolerate. If your environment is disorganized, if your schedule is chaotic, if you let yourself break promises to your own goals, others notice, even if they never mention it. A Stoic builds habits that reinforce their worth. Consistency in action, doing what you said you would do, when you said you'd do it. Order in environment, keeping your space aligned with clarity and purpose. Excellence in work, not perfectionism, but pride in what you produce. By living with structure, you silently communicate that you value yourself, and in turn, others learn to value you. 5. Speak less. Mean more. One of the quickest ways to lose respect is to fill the air with words that carry no weight. A Stoic is deliberate with speech not because he is timid, but because he understands that words are currency. When you speak less, you give your words more gravity. When you refuse to gossip, exaggerate, or use flattery as currency, you signal that your voice is not for sale. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." The discipline of honest, intentional speech builds a reputation that protects you when challenges come, because people know your words are not casual noise. They are signals of truth. 6. Keep your emotional center steady. People respect those who cannot be easily shaken. The Stoics called this apatheia, not apathy, but freedom from destructive passions. It's the ability to stay composed under pressure, to respond rather than react. This doesn't mean you don't feel, it means you don't let others hijack your inner state. When others see that you can navigate insult without rage, difficulty without panic, and success without arrogance, they trust you more deeply. And that trust is the foundation of lasting respect. 7. Serve a higher purpose. Finally, the most respected people in history did not live for themselves alone. They aligned their lives with a purpose bigger than their comfort, whether it was justice, knowledge, community, or the pursuit of truth. A Stoic knows that respect earned through service to something greater than oneself is the kind that cannot be destroyed by rumor, loss, or betrayal. It endures because it's rooted in contribution, not ego. When you live for something beyond yourself, you become a standard for others not because you sought their approval, but because you showed them what a life of principle looks like in action. When you combine the rejection of toxic behaviors with the cultivation of strong values, self-respect, and purpose, you don't have to demand respect, it will find you. You won't need to defend your worth constantly because you will have built a life where your worth is self-evident. Next, we'll explore real-life Stoic scenarios from friendships to workplaces to family dynamics and how to navigate them with strength and composure, applying everything we've discussed so far without slipping into cold detachment. Stoicism in action, real-world scenarios that test your boundaries. It's one thing to talk about values, boundaries, and self-respect in theory. It's another to live them in the messy, unpredictable reality of everyday life. The Stoics were not armchair philosophers. They trained their minds and hearts to stand firm in the arena amid noise, temptation, and pressure. They understood that wisdom is meaningless if it collapses the moment someone challenges you. So let's step into some real-world situations where these 8 unacceptable behaviors might appear. I'll show you how a Stoic would handle them, not with arrogance, not with bitterness, but with calm clarity and strength that leaves no room for misunderstanding. Scenario 1. The friend who makes you the punchline. You're at a gathering. People are laughing, drinks are flowing, and suddenly, your friend makes a joke at your expense. It's subtle, but it cuts. Everyone chuckles. You smile politely to keep the moment light. But inside, you feel the sting. The danger here is not just the joke, it's the precedent. If you let it slide, it becomes permission for it to happen again. And soon, others may join in. The Stoic response. You wait until you're one-on-one. Your tone is calm but firm. I know you might not have meant it badly, but when you made that joke earlier, it felt disrespectful. I'd appreciate it if you didn't do that again. This is Tier 1 boundary setting, direct, but without hostility. If the behavior stops, the bond is preserved. If it repeats, you escalate to Tier 2, a firmer statement, or Tier 3, distancing yourself. You don't need to humiliate them publicly, because your goal isn't revenge, it's self-respect. Scenario 2. The family member who manipulates with guilt. It's late Sunday afternoon. You've planned the evening for yourself, reading, rest, maybe a walk. Then your phone rings. It's a family member you never visit anymore. I guess you're too busy for family now. In the past, you would have caved, rushed over, and resented it the whole time. That's the trap, manipulation by guilt. The Stoic response. You acknowledge their feeling but don't bend your boundary. I care about you, and I want to spend time together. But tonight is my time to recharge. Let's plan something later this week so we can actually enjoy it. Notice there's no apology for having needs, no frantic over-explaining. You offer an alternative, but you stand firm. The manipulator may sigh or protest, but you've sent a message you will not trade your peace for approval. Scenario 3. The colleague who always complains. You share an office with someone who has turned complaining into an art form. Every morning, it's traffic, then management, then the weather. Nothing is ever good enough. At first, you listen sympathetically, but now you leave these conversations drained and irritable, carrying negativity that isn't yours. The Stoic response. Limit the exposure. When they launch into another rant, you redirect. I hear you, it's frustrating. What do you think we can do to fix it? If they shrug and keep spiraling, you disengage politely. I've got to get back to work. I'm on a deadline. This isn't rudeness, it's self-protection. You're making it clear you won't be a permanent outlet for unproductive venting. Scenario 4. The partner who tells small lies. You notice a pattern. Your partner tells harmless lies. Where they were, who they talked to, tiny inconsistencies that they brush off. The easy route, ignore it. Tell yourself it's nothing. But each lie, no matter how small, chips at the foundation of trust. The Stoic response. I value honesty above comfort. Even small lies erode trust for me. If we're going to work, I need to know I can count on what you say. You don't accuse without evidence. You speak from your value, not from anger. If the lies stop, trust can rebuild. If they don't, you walk away, not as punishment, but because life without trust is life without peace. Scenario 5. The entitled acquaintance. They always forget their share of the bill. They expect you to drive, to plan, to accommodate. Gratitude is rare. Expectation is constant. The Stoic response. You stop enabling the behavior. I won't be able to drive you next time. Let's meet there instead. The bill is $30 each. No lectures, no drama. Just quiet refusal to be taken for granted. If they value you, they adjust. If they vanish, you've lost a user, not a friend. Scenario 6. The friend who vanishes in hard times. When things were good, they were always there, texting, inviting, celebrating. But the moment you hit a rough patch, they disappeared. The Stoic response. You accept the truth without bitterness. Their loyalty was conditional. You remove them from your inner circle, not out of spite, but because your circle is sacred. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." The same applies to relationships. If it is not loyal, do not keep it. Scenario 7. The team member who avoids responsibility. You're on a project. One person keeps missing deadlines, leaving the rest to scramble. The manager lets it slide. Resentment builds. The Stoic response. You address it privately and directly. We're all counting on each other to finish this. I need to know if you can commit to your part. If they continue to slack, you stop covering for them. When leadership asks why the project is behind, you state the facts without venom. The Stoic does not hide the truth to preserve someone else's comfort, especially when that truth protects the group. Scenario 8. The jealous colleague. They downplay your wins. They forget to mention your contributions. When you succeed, their smile is tight. The Stoic response. You refuse to compete with their insecurity. You keep working, keep producing excellence, and refuse to be pulled into petty rivalry. You may limit personal sharing, but you don't let their jealousy dictate your behavior. Because the Stoic understands another person's envy is not your burden to carry. Why these scenarios matter. Every one of these situations is a fork in the road. One path is easier in the moment. Avoid conflict. Smooth things over. Keep the peace. But that path always leads to erosion of self-respect, of clarity, of peace. The other path, clarity, boundaries. Action feels harder at first, but it leads to a life where you stand taller, where your presence commands quiet respect, and where toxic patterns die at the edge of your boundaries. In part next, we'll go further exploring how to mentally rehearse these responses before you need them, so you can step into any situation with composure, confidence, and the unshakable calm that defines the Stoic way. We show you Stoic mental rehearsal techniques for unshakable responses. Training the mind. Before the battle, the Stoics understood something modern life often forgets. You do not rise to the occasion. You fall to the level of your training. If you wait until you're in the middle of a heated conversation, a guilt trip, or a subtle act of manipulation to decide how you'll respond, you'll likely react out of emotion instead of principle. This is why the great Stoics Marcus Aurelius in his tent before battle, Epictetus in the classroom, Seneca in his letters practiced mental rehearsal. They anticipated life's challenges before they happened. They played the scenes in their minds, not to become paranoid, but to become prepared. When the moment came, their response wasn't an accident. It was a choice already made. The Stoic method of mental rehearsal. Think of it like training for a sport or a performance. You don't just practice when you're on the field, you drill so much that the movements become second nature. Here's how to apply it. 1. Identify your triggers. Make a list of the situations or behaviors that tend to shake you, moments when you've previously lost your composure, felt pressured to give in, or stayed silent when you wish you'd spoken up. Examples: a family member using guilt to get their way, a colleague taking credit for your work, a friend making disrespectful jokes at your expense. These are not just irritations, they're predictable tests of your boundaries. 2. Define your ideal response for each trigger. Decide in advance. What words would communicate my boundary clearly? What body language would reinforce my confidence? What tone would reflect calm, not anger? The goal is to be specific. Don't just think I'll stand up for myself. Instead, script something like, "I'm not okay with that comment. Please don't repeat it." Or, "I won't be able to help with that this time." 3. Visualize the scene. Close your eyes and place yourself in the setting. Feel the tension. Hear the tone of voice from the other person. Notice your own posture. Now, imagine yourself responding exactly as you planned. Steady voice, clear words, relaxed shoulders, calm eyes. You're not rushing. You're not apologizing for having a standard. Repeat the scene until the response feels natural. 4. Anticipate their pushback. Most people won't instantly say, "You're right. I'll never cross your boundary again." They might argue, laugh it off, or double down. So rehearse that too. Imagine them rolling their eyes, trying to guilt you, changing the subject to avoid accountability. In each version, picture yourself holding steady, repeating your point, refusing to engage in side arguments, and not raising your voice. 5. Anchor the feeling of composure. After each mental rehearsal, take a deep breath and note how it feels to have stayed in control. This feeling calm, steady, rooted is the emotional anchor you want to bring into real life. When the actual moment comes, your mind will recognize the pattern and remember, we've done this before. We know what to do. The benefits of pre-decision. By the time you face the situation in reality, the decision is already made. You won't be scrambling for words or wondering whether you're overreacting. You'll know your standard. You'll have practiced your delivery, and you'll step into the moment with clarity. The Stoics didn't see this as cold or robotic. It was a way to free themselves from panic, resentment, or regret. You aren't rehearsing to become inflexible. You're rehearsing so you can stay true to your principles even when emotions run high. The what-if drill. Here's a powerful practice you can add each week. Pick one of the 8 unacceptable behaviors. Then ask yourself, what if someone I care about showed this behavior tomorrow? What would I do? What would I say? Write your response. Then visualize it. Repeat until it feels as natural as breathing. Do this weekly, and you'll develop a reflex not to attack, not to run, but to calmly protect your peace. Remember, preparation is freedom. The unprepared person must react to life. The prepared person chooses their path. Mental rehearsal is not about living in fear of disrespect, manipulation, or disloyalty. It's about ensuring that when they show up, they find no weakness to exploit. By the time the world tests you, you will not need to find your courage. You will already be living in it. We'll move beyond personal boundaries and talk about how to influence your environment, friends, workplace, and family, so that respect, integrity, and loyalty become the cultural norm, not the rare exception. I'll continue and show how a Stoic actively shapes the environment around them instead of only defending against it. Shaping the world around you. The Stoic as a standard setter. Up to this point, we've focused on you, your standards, your boundaries, your inner clarity. But the Stoics understood that the self does not live in isolation. You exist in families, friendships, workplaces, communities, and these environments are shaped consciously or unconsciously by the people in them. If you want to live in a space where respect, honesty, and loyalty are the norm, you can't simply defend yourself against toxicity. You must model the behavior you wish to see and enforce the standards that protect it. In doing so, you influence the culture around you, sometimes silently, sometimes directly, until the space itself becomes inhospitable to the 8 unacceptable behaviors we've explored. 1. Model the respect. You expect people take cues from what you tolerate. Yes, but they also take cues from how you treat others. If you want your presence to command respect without words, let your interactions be the example. Speak without sarcasm when you disagree. Listen fully before responding. Acknowledge contributions openly. When you set this tone, you create an atmosphere where disrespect feels jarring and out of place, making it easier to address when it does occur. 2. Normalize direct, honest communication. In many environments, problems fester because people talk about each other, not to each other. The Stoic way is to replace gossip with candor. If you have feedback, give it directly, calmly, without humiliation. If you're concerned about someone's behavior, address it early instead of letting resentment grow in the shadows. By doing this consistently, you set an unspoken rule. We deal with each other face to face, with clarity and respect. Over time, others will follow suit or feel so uncomfortable with the openness that they leave, which is its own form of improvement. 3. Guard the energy of the space. The people you allow into your circle or your team affect everyone in it. A chronic complainer, a manipulator, or someone steeped in envy can erode morale far beyond their direct interactions. You can't control every personality, but you can control access. This might mean limiting how much time certain individuals have with you or your group, steering conversations toward productive ground, ending meetings or interactions that spiral into negativity. Think of yourself as the keeper of the atmosphere. If you protect the tone, you protect the people in it, including yourself. 4. Create agreements, not assumptions. In relationships and teams, many conflicts come from unspoken expectations. A Stoic avoids this by making agreements explicit. In friendships, we're honest with each other, even when it's uncomfortable. In teams, we credit contributions openly and share responsibility for results. In families, we don't weaponize past mistakes in current disagreements. When expectations are clear, it's easier to hold others accountable and for them to hold you accountable, too. 5. reward loyalty, integrity, and effort. One of the most effective ways to shape a culture is to highlight what you want more of. When someone demonstrates loyalty in a difficult moment, acknowledge it. When a colleague admits a mistake instead of hiding it, thank them for their honesty. This is not about flattery. It's about reinforcing the behaviors that make relationships and communities stronger. What you praise, people tend to repeat. 6. Be willing to remove what corrodes. Even with clear standards, some will test your boundaries repeatedly. They might be charming, they might be talented, they might even be family. But if their presence consistently undermines the respect, trust, or peace in your environment, the Stoic answer is removal. This is not cruelty, it's stewardship. You cannot maintain a healthy environment if you protect those who poison it. Sometimes the most compassionate act is to let someone face the consequences of their behavior outside of the space you protect. 7. Hold yourself to the same standard. Nothing destroys credibility faster than hypocrisy. If you demand honesty but bend the truth when it suits you, your standard collapses. If you expect others to carry their weight but regularly drop your own responsibilities, your authority vanishes. The Stoic doesn't lead from a pedestal, they lead from the same ground they walk with everyone else. Your standards must apply to you first, or they will apply to no one. 8. Remember that culture is a living thing. You don't set a standard once and walk away. Environments shift. New people arrive. Old tensions resurface. The work of maintaining a culture of respect and integrity is ongoing. The Stoic doesn't resent this, it's part of the discipline. Just as you maintain your physical space, you maintain your relational space. Each day is another opportunity to reinforce the tone, to protect the boundaries, and to ensure that the 8 unacceptable behaviors find no place to grow. Why this is worth the effort? When you shape your environment with Stoic principles, you create a space where people speak honestly without fear. Loyalty is assumed, not begged for. Effort is the baseline, not the exception. Respect is the default setting. This is not just good for you, it lifts everyone within that circle. And over time, the influence spreads. Your example becomes a quiet challenge to the wider world. This is how we do things here. In this next part, we'll bring everything together, a powerful closing reflection that will leave you with the mindset and resolve to never again sign that silent contract with disrespect, manipulation, or any force that seeks to erode your worth. The final stand. Living a life that never negotiates its worth. There is a truth we often avoid because it feels heavy. The world will treat you exactly as you teach it to. Every time you allow disrespect to pass unchecked, you've taught someone that your dignity is negotiable. Every time you excuse manipulation for the sake of keeping the peace, you've told them your clarity is for sale. Every time you tolerate dishonesty, chronic complaining, entitlement, laziness, disloyalty, or envy, you've shown them your boundaries are flexible, optional. Even, and here's the quiet danger, you're not just teaching them, you're teaching yourself. You're telling your own mind, my standards are not worth enforcing. And over time, that lesson sinks so deep that you forget you ever had standards to begin with. The Stoic path does not allow this erosion. It is a path of vigilance, of clarity, of courage not to dominate others, but to master yourself. The line you will not cross. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." The same applies here. Waste no more time wondering where the line is. Draw it, hold it, live it. Because once you truly decide that disrespect is never welcome, that manipulation finds no foothold, that dishonesty is shown the door, you will find that your life begins to change in quiet but unmistakable ways. People who value integrity will move closer. People who thrive on toxicity will drift away, and you will stand taller, not because you're trying to be impressive, but because you are no longer carrying the weight of compromise. You are the guardian of your peace. The Stoics never said life would hand you peace as a gift. Peace is something you guard fiercely, deliberately, every single day. You guard it by knowing your values as well as you know your own face. Practicing the responses before the moment of testing, speaking truth without venom, but without apology. Choosing company with the same care you'd choose the food that keeps you alive. Removing anything, no matter how familiar, that poisons your spirit. This is not about isolation. It's about discernment. You are not closing the gates to keep everyone out. You're keeping the gates so that only the worthy may enter. The courage to walk away. One of the hardest truths in all of this is that protecting your dignity often requires walking away from people, places, and patterns you once loved. It will hurt. You will question yourself. Others will accuse you of being cold, proud, or unforgiving. Let them, because the alternative is to live in a constant state of quiet betrayal. Betrayal not from them, but from yourself. And that is a wound that never fully heals. The Stoic knows leaving a space where you are diminished is not cruelty. It is the highest act of loyalty to the only person who will be with you for your entire life, you. Your presence is not cheap. When you carry yourself with dignity, when your standards are lived and not just spoken, you will discover a power the world rarely talks about. You will no longer need to demand respect. You will no longer need to chase loyalty. You will no longer need to plead for honesty. Your very presence will make it clear this is someone who will not sign the silent contract of tolerance for what is toxic. And those who cannot meet that standard will remove themselves, saving you the trouble. Stand in front of a mirror tonight not to examine your face, but to look yourself in the eye and ask, what have I been allowing that erodes me? Where have I been silent when my spirit begged me to speak? What lines will I refuse to let anyone cross from this moment on? Then answer, and know that your answer is not just a thought, it is a declaration, a contract with yourself. From now on, your life will reflect the truth that respect is the baseline, not the bonus. Peace is the treasure, not the compromise. Integrity is the armor, not the option. And when the tests come, as they will, you will meet them with the calm certainty of someone who has already chosen. And now, as we bring this journey to a close, let your shoulders fall, let your breath slow, and allow yourself to rest in the quiet strength you've reclaimed tonight. Live so that the 8 unacceptable behaviors, disrespect, manipulation, chronic complaining, dishonesty, entitlement, disloyalty, laziness, and envy, find no fertile ground in your life. Live so that your boundaries are not walls of fear, but gates of value. Live so that you never have to wonder whether you are respected, because the very way you walk through the world makes it undeniable. That is the Stoic way. That is your way now. Until next time, breathe deeply and carry this calm with you. Good night, sweet dreams.